In today's episode of The Crowded Market, we spoke to Ivana Heinen. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very good.
Ivana has got some controversial opinions. She believes that B2B marketing is failing because there is too much noise and not enough clarity. Why do you think B2B marketing is failing because of that?
I think there is so much pressure to be online everywhere all the time. I think we see it a lot in our personal lives already, but I don't think it has to be that way. I think we really need to go back to a focus, especially in B2B.
She also spoke to us about what it was like managing a €2 million marketing budget and what she learned about structuring a team and outsourcing.
So maybe to give you some context, the budget was split over 8 countries and 12 offices. I'm pro outsourcing specialist functions, and I think a lot of marketers maybe struggle to do that or don't want to.
We also spoke about corporate marketing and how it doesn't have to be stale and you can create exciting content with authentic leaders in your business.
And I think it's going to be one of the things that also shapes these next coming years, because brands have been looking alike for years.
Yeah.
Personal brands, however, are on the rise. And personal brands are on the rise because people trust people and people like people.
It's going to be a great episode. We hope you enjoy it. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very good.
Ivana, you've been staying with me for the whole weekend, actually, haven't you?
It's been so great.
We've known each other for quite a few years, but we've never met.
4 years.
And today you've flown up from Paris to come and have a conversation with us today about your journey in marketing.
Our journey.
Our journey in marketing. That's very nice. And specifically, you've had an interesting career going through, working for a large corporate for a long, long time to now diving in and doing your own thing, which is something that's very scary for a lot of people.
And so much fun.
And so much fun. B2B marketing, though, specifically, you often talk about, to me, it needs to be less noisy. So why do you think B2B marketing is failing because of that?
I think there is so much pressure to be online everywhere all the time. I think we see it a lot in our personal lives already with all of the social media that we have, all the new channels, email. But I don't think it has to be that way. I think we really need to go back to a focus, especially in B2B, especially in sectors with high tickets where you need to build trust. I think it's way more effective to be really great on one channel than a little bit poor or mediocre on all just for the sake of visibility.
So interestingly, you talk to a lot of marketers, they'll be like, be everywhere, say everything, do everything.
I'm going to have to
tell everyone
disagree.
all your information. And you're saying no.
No, I'm saying a lot of them are focusing on legacy projects, right? So you start with one channel. So you start with, for example, you started with email marketing and then we've added on a new channel. Facebook came. Okay, we're going to do Facebook as well. Oh, we have a new channel. We have to be on LinkedIn. Okay, let's do videos now. And what's happening is it's putting a lot of pressure on marketing teams to do it all. And it's kind of this, you're starting to focus on legacy projects. We've been doing it for years, so let's just keep doing it. But it's not always the most effective. Your audience is also changing in where they're based online. So you're consistently going to have to evaluate if it's still effective. So of course, measurability is a very big thing, I think, in B2B marketing, to maintain trust and focus.
So the channel.
Yeah.
Where is that channel? In B2B, your head goes to LinkedIn, right?
Yes. It goes towards the channel where you're most effective in building a relationship, whether that is online or offline. I think in B2B, you're going to, at some point in an ideal world, meet that person in real life. And that's where the magic happens. But you can start building that relationship in places where you can have a certain amount of interaction with that person. And it depends on what your goal is, right? So I'd say you need to build a place where your vision lives. So I'd often recommend a good website. Then you need a place where representation lives. So that can be on social media. I think in B2B, LinkedIn is a very big one. But then you also need a place where your people live. And I think that especially since COVID, we might have underestimated the power of also being offline. Conferences, events, owned events, speaking opportunities, podcasts.
You talked to me about this. I think we spoke about this in the car, didn't we? In terms of, I didn't realize how many events that you kind of orchestrate for your clients and make sure that they get into speaking slots, panels, discussions, and how that's actually important, and why, you know, a podcast is a form of that in a way, isn't it? Although we're being recorded today, it's me and you having a chat about things that matter. But there's all kinds of forms that you can do that in person, and they don't have to be recorded all the time, right? Which is not helping my business case at the moment. But yeah, they can be, those in-person events are very, very valuable. And you often talk to me as well about how championing the person of the business and not the business itself, and finding those people in the business that can champion the brand, because people buy people, right?
Yeah.
So,
and there's been a big shift from this growth for growth that we used to have. It lived before COVID. It's lit up a bit afterwards, but you're seeing that the environment is changing a lot. So where you're going to be positioning yourself, I think this next generation of leaders also really has to focus on where am I showing up with conviction as to where I'm taking my business, but also the sector in which my business is active. So you can tell your story, the story you have now, I can say it here on the podcast. But one of the reasons I'm on the podcast is because I have very strong opinions about how B2B marketing should evolve, right? So I'm using this as well to kind of shape my vision on the sector of communications and marketing, right? I could, for example, I could say, okay, what I'm currently doing is maybe I'm also managing social media for people, right? But I don't want to talk about that. It's part of what I do, but it's not the vision that I have for the sector.
Yeah.
So that's something I would, and I think in-person events potentially really bring that back. It gives you a stage and an opportunity to take people with you on a vision. And it's harder to do that on a website. It's harder to do that through small snippets and LinkedIn posts, because people don't pay enough attention. So the relationship building goes hand in hand with building a vision.
Sector shaping.
Yeah.
The next decade, you talk about, firstly, let's explain, what do you mean by that?
Okay, so what we see is that, I'll go back to the growth for growth principle. A lot of companies, a lot of large incumbents over the past years have been growing strongly, right? Valuated very highly, changing a lot of ways in which we do things. I'm talking about the large FMCGs, the large social medias. They've benefited from this growth for growth, right? Everyone is getting on board. Let's do more, faster innovation, newer innovation. I think the next decade in communications is going to be very much based on how you shape the perception of you within your sector. Because what has happened, people don't trust brands that much anymore. No. A lot of it is also due to issues they've caused themselves, hiding things, not protecting their reputation, sometimes also ethics, morality.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably more likely to forgive a person than you are to forgive a brand.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Because
does that make sense?
No, but because you have 10 other brands you can choose from right now. So one is, of course, building the trust, but the second one is also you need to continuously measure your brand within the wider audience that your brand operates in and your leadership operates in. It's not you against the world getting clients, getting money. It's you within these larger economic forces, cultural forces, ecological forces as well. So if you can educate the sector more effectively on why you are here, what your right is to exist, I think you will exist a lot longer as a company.
Absolutely. Something that we've spoken about in the past was your previous career.
Yeah.
You managed a €2 million marketing budget.
Yeah, that was hectic.
Yeah, this is an obscene amount of money for a lot of people to handle. To be given that and saying, "All right, enjoy.
Good luck."
Yeah, make us some business with this. What did you learn about that in terms of maybe even building a team, structuring, outsourcing, whatever it might be? Because that's a lot of money.
Yeah. So maybe to give you some context, the budget was split over 8 countries and 12 offices.
Right.
Which made it more difficult.
Yes.
So especially in Europe is a heterogeneous place, right? Different languages, different cultures, different people. And my job was basically my old bosses, they would come to me and they would say, hey, we're opening in Poland, good luck. And I'd be like, okay, when? They'd be like, in 2.5 months. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So I would have to set up marketing from scratch. I did that in 6 of those 8 countries since I started. So I did it for 4 years and it was really great.
Where do you even start with setting up marketing from scratch?
So clarity. So you need to start, I think the more you prepare, the better your marketing output is always going to be.
Yeah.
Don't underestimate the knowledge that you need to start in a new market about local culture, local ways of communication. So I'm Dutch. I'm very direct. I'm very to the point.
I've learned this.
Yeah, I'm quite on time. You've been living with me for 3 days. But that's not always the most beneficial way of also presenting yourself in a new market. So for example, in Southern Europe, people focus a bit more on the relationship than on the task. Whereas in Northern Europe, we can be very task-oriented. So we want to do something. How do we get to that point most efficiently? Whereas in the South, it's more, we want to do something. How do I make sure that everyone is happy while we do it? So you need to invest more in the relationship. The only way to figure that out is by doing effective market research at the beginning, speaking to more people, going there. That was the fun part of my job. So I got to take my little suitcase everywhere. That was the main thing that you have to do. Then the next step is you have to get in the head. So I worked in a partner-driven organization, right? So we found someone to open that new office who would basically be leading it commercially. And I'd be supporting them from the marketing communication side. To start talking to them, to figure out where they are already based, where their relationships lie, that we can fortify, that we can make stronger, that we can bring the new brand into. And at the same time, start exploring kind of the wider ecosystem as well. The marketing touches all points of an organization, even HR, employer branding. Yeah. We do everything. So as a marketer, to be able to take a very broad view of the environment in which you operate is the most important first step. Yeah.
Where do you see, we spoke a bit about this as well, but outsourcing in terms of, I think a lot of marketing teams think we need everything in-house. We need everything that we can get in-house just so that we can mobilize at any given moment, if there's an immediate campaign. Yeah. You're quite pro outsourcing.
Very much.
Why?
I'm pro outsourcing specialist functions. And I think a lot of marketers maybe struggle to do that or don't want to because there is a pressure to perform, to be everywhere, to be online all the time, like we talked about earlier. So we don't, it might also be ego, keeping it close to home, really wanting to hold it near. But especially if you're working across multiple markets, you need to stop overestimating your ability to step out of your own cultural preferences. And besides that, when you're in more of a management function in marketing, outsourcing specialist functions is incredibly effective. Your role changes from managing the outcome of the output to managing the outcome, the strategy, the scope, the budget. And I'm also a strong believer of there will always be someone smarter than you in something or better than you in something. So find that person in that market.
What kind of tasks were you like if you were saying, right, this is something that you should outsource now, if you're already doing it yourself or trying to do it in-house? What is a big one?
As a marketer? Content production work is a good one to outsource, especially if you want to reach a certain volume fast. Translation, localization. I also highly recommend, if you're a very small marketing or communications team, to outsource media relations work.
Right.
Not necessarily,
find a good PR agency in the sector.
At some point, yes. Yeah. Especially when you enter a new market and you have the scope for it and a budget, that's effective to outsource. Trying to do that all yourself is going to make you... So the problem with working in a wide firm or in a big environment where you start taking more of a management function and you have to focus on scope, budget, and strategy. If you then go into a new market and you're like, let me just handle some of these media relations, Before you know it, 50 to 60% of your time is focused internally. And as a marketer, you don't want to be focused internally.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
You have to be continuously connected to the outside world. That's where you bring in the value.
Yeah. We've had it time and time again where we've gone in and in terms of content production, they've come out and they've said, we used to do this internally, but it's just, they've hired a guy to manage the content and media output for an entire company that's like, 500 staff or whatnot around the world. And then they inevitably kind of come back and outsource again because it's something that they can't manage it. It's just, it's too much.
You need a coordinator though.
Yeah.
So it's not bad with outsourcing those types of materials, but if there's not someone within the company that is continuously interacting with that outsourced person and the internal environment to create that connection.
The synergy.
That's what you need.
That's something we always ask for too, is like, we need a key contact. We need somebody to
POC.
go back and forth with. But then you get this whole thing and there's always too many cooks eventually and everybody wants to put their 2 cents in. And but, ideas can become diluted a little bit, can't they? Like, especially when you're talking about content production, you're thinking about sharing all this. They share all the, what do you think of this? Everyone, what do you think of this? And then everyone wants to
think so. Everybody has an opinion about marketing.
Everyone's got an opinion.
Not everyone has an opinion about HR.
No.
Not everyone has an opinion about finance. Everybody has something to say about marketing.
Interesting, isn't it? Why?
Because
everyone wants to be creative in a way.
Because we're connected to the outside world, and so are they.
Yeah, true.
So everyone within an organization has their own outside world, outside of work, that they bring inspiration with. They see examples from competitors. And what do? They come to you and they're like, oh, we saw this. Let's do this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Corporate marketing as a whole isn't seen as very sexy. Yeah. Not very nice.
No.
It's seen as nice, but maybe a bit stagnant or a bit kind of stale.
Yeah.
What would you say is your angle? How do you break that through that kind of mold?
So I think corporate marketing it's something very natural that happens. Also, if you look at it from like a psychological perspective, you bring a lot of people together and they start creating consensus to keep everyone happy. A brand is also there to bring out a consensus-driven message. We exist to A. But unfortunately, what we've also done is we've had to formalize a lot, right? So I think a lot of corporate brands still place themselves above the consumer. We're either the strongest, the fastest, the coolest, the cheapest, and we'll explain to you why. To do that, you need to communicate with a certain type of formality that exonerates some type of pressure. But if you look at B2B marketing, it's about trust building as well. And one part of trust building is relationship building. And relationships are built best when you're authentic. And authenticity is something I think we can definitely bring back into corporate marketing. I think it's also important. And I think it's going to be one of the things that also shapes these next coming years, because brands have been looking alike for years.
Yeah.
Personal brands, however, are on the rise. And personal brands are on the rise because people trust people and people like people. People don't like brands anymore.
No, they do. I always use the comparison B2B, B2C. I say this a million times, but it's always B2P. It's always business to person, right? It's always person to person. Yeah. Regardless of whether you're marketing to a business to attain business in that way, there's always another person on the end of that receiving that marketing, that video, that message. Yeah. So we kind of got lost in the way of corporate marketing where we thought we're marketing to an entity. Yeah. You're not. There's a human being with eyeballs and a brain on the other side of that who's received it. So how do you create that emotional connection with them, really, isn't it? And that's with other people. Yeah,
and it's also about realizing that, in B2C, we can often say, okay, your purchase is driven by your emotion. Yeah. Right? So I've had a bad day, I'm going to go shopping. Yeah. And then I feel better because I found perfect jeans. Yeah. So it's an emotion response. That has happened before. It's happened in Bristol with a feather jacket. Tweety.
You talk a lot about executive profiling.
Yeah.
That's a big part of what you supply, isn't it? And what you do for your clients.
I think it's an integral part to any part of communication strategy.
If you're going to explain what, in layman's terms, what is executive profiling?
Executive profiling is actually explaining the vision that you have for the company in a space where you live as a person, with an authenticity that makes people want to connect to you. I think I can go back also to the concept of sector shaping. Information coming from a person being able to speak on big panels, sector conferences, or more industry conferences.
Yeah.
This is a place where an executive profile can make more difference for a brand than we actually think, right? We always think, okay, if the brand communicates, that's a force, a power, right? Because the brand is strong. The brand says A, thinks C. That doesn't work because people don't connect to a brand in a trust building, relationship driven way that we do with people.
Yeah. Well, the classic example is B2C.
Yeah.
For years, and they still do it. They use figureheads, celebrities, people that everyone trusts, even though they don't know them. They've created a brand. These
Absolutely.
people that people trust. Yeah. They then these B2C brands use these figureheads, these celebrities, to talk on their adverts. Perfume is a classic example, using well-known celebrity faces that people trust for some reason.
Yeah.
And they've done that for decades, and they'll continue to do it for decades because they see the reward in terms of conversions, because it's not being delivered by some faceless brand. It's being delivered by a person that that's that person who I know, who I loved in that film, who I enjoyed in that interview or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's been done for years in B2C, and it feels like it's now finally moving over to B2B. But instead of us bringing celebrities through, you've got your execs, you've got your C-suite individuals, you've got these figureheads within the business that you now need to champion.
Yeah.
So it's here.
Yeah. I think you do have to be very careful with who you bring forward. I think not everyone is good at everything, right? So if you bring forward a celebrity I think the most perfect example for me would be George Clooney and Nespresso.
Yeah.
I always think about that guy.
Yeah.
Love the way he presents Nespresso.
Yeah, true.
But he's a professional actor.
That's the rumor.
Unfortunately, otherwise I might have met him somewhere. But so he's a professional actor. You can put him on camera. You can put him in front of a screen, and he will perform.
Yes.
Not every exec you're going to put on a big screen is going to do well.
True.
Put me on a stage, not great. LinkedIn, panels, smaller style events, or big conferences, it really also depends on the person's personality. And I also really think people can smell when you're not authentic, when you're not trying, or when you're trying and it's not coming across as natural because it doesn't feel natural. Yeah. Your body language will exert that, and that does not exert the trust you're trying to build. So to become an industry expert, part of it, of course, is, who said that again? To be a thought leader, you need to have leading thoughts. So you need to have the right information, but the medium you use is just as important.
Yeah, absolutely. Why should early stage companies stop chasing PR, especially if they've got a limited marketing budget? So
PR is great for brand awareness and wide reach, but PR is blast driven. So you take a date, you put it under embargo, you go to journalists, you negotiate with them, it comes out, and the media attention usually lasts 2 to 3 days, and then it stops. If you're an early stage company trying to build traction within the market, you need to focus on your vision, be very clear about your position within the ecosystem, start using that to build out the relationship with people that are going to buy from you. Only later invest in PR, because in my opinion, marketing and sales need to follow commercial objectives, but they need to have the vision integrated to make sure that that lasts beyond the next quarter or the next sales cycle. But if you direct your attention to PR, you're very much directing your attention externally to an external environment you cannot really control. You can influence. Media environments you can influence, you can't control them. What you can control is how you show up, where you are. So media could be part of that, but also, are you at events? Are you on the website? Are you on videos? Focus on that first. And once it's incredibly clear why you're here, but also why you're here to stay, and if it lives internally, so within your culture, then invest in PR. You'll get way more out of it when you're consistently communicating the correct values externally. What often happens is that in very young companies, the vision exists within the CEO or the founding team. A marketer's and someone who's in communications and in marketing, your job is to get that vision out of there and to make it something that can live across multiple people, that more people can get behind, that lives within the sector, that educates the market. Then you integrate PR. Because it's about widening the reach of your message, but your message needs to be clear first.
It's interesting what you say about PR, and you can't control the media and how you never think of it like that. You think, oh, this is the story, this is what we want to put out there, but you don't really control where it goes. And there's people who do that for you that you don't have.
Yeah.
But content is where you can control your message.
Yeah.
You know, think about it, re-record it, script it, you know, figure out how you're getting that, whether it's a podcast or a brand film or anything like that. That's where you have control. And then you have your own outlets. You've got the website, you've got LinkedIn, where you can get tremendous reach. You know, we spoke to a LinkedIn ads expert about this on a previous
how
episode.
Far you can get.
And, you know, he wasn't saying run ads based on what you're selling. He was run thought leader ads. That's all you need to do, like, because nobody wants to. One, nobody's ready to buy on LinkedIn, and two, that's where you're going to see big reach, big reward, providing value that's controlled under your environment, where you control what goes out there,
and you still have the personal relationship that you can build with someone off the back of that directly
with a message. What are you getting? How many people have contacted somebody off a PR
off a
kind of
post.
stunt, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or but how many have done it off a PR, off an article? Not a lot. Like, who's copied and pasted the email at the bottom of an article and then gone, "Oh, I saw this." Like, whereas it's so quick and easy on LinkedIn. I'll drop them a message very quickly.
So what we see often as well is that PR agencies still focus on not all of them, but PR is a traditional. It's a traditional type of marketing or outreach. So PR sometimes still operates within a quite traditional media environment. So the media environment used to be very broad. There was quite a lot of outlets. You have verticals that you can go into the sector. And what you've seen over the past few years, that media is very much converging. And media, to some extent, is dying because the rise of personalized media that we can access at any time. I have an app. And I tell it the type of news I want to read. So it filters out automatically news I'm not interested in and don't want. So the way we consume has changed it. So also the degree of which we think we can actually influence public opinion through PR or this very tightening media environment is actually quite low. Right now, I think the opportunity lies in the amount of also niche and small communities that you have that live online. So an example in the B2C world is, of course, the Facebook groups. People converge there together with a similar interest and a similar requirement. In B2B, I think what is very interesting is email, Substacks, blogs. So actually unofficial channels. But with unofficial channels, traditional PR kind of still operates in the same way, right? To show up there, you need to build the right relationship. It takes a lot of time. If you can still do that yourself as a young startup, I'd recommend doing that before spending your budget on a huge PR account.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Ivana, that's our time.
Luke.
To talk to you all day. Thank you so much for
great.
coming on, staying with me, you know, living with us for the last 3 days.
Roomies.
I've loved every second of it.
Me too.
And hopefully we can get you on for another
love to.
episode because
Thank you.
I've loved it. Thank you.
Thank you.